It is time to check in with Dr. Joe Schwarz. He, of course, joins us every week at this time. He's hosted the Dr. Joe Show here on CJAD Sundays at 3, and, of course, is director of the McGill Office for Science and Society. Joe, I saw the first topic today, and I thought, well, this is nothing necessarily new, air pollution and cancer, but you're about to talk about a new study that links specifically breast cancer to it. So what's this about?
Right. Well, of course, air pollution has long been linked to lung cancer. Obviously, not everyone who smokes gets lung cancer, and people get lung cancer even without smoking. So why is that? Well, that comes from air. Any time that we burn fuel, whether it's a car or a truck with its diesel engines or power plants that produce electricity, you put a whole range of chemicals into the air, including soot. And very, very fine particles of this, particles that are about 1/30th the thickness of a human hair, so they're invisible. But these particles get into the lungs and impair their function and cause inflammation, which then can turn cancerous. So it has long been known that some of this the particulate matter is conducive to lung cancer. But breast cancer is a different story. One normally would not think of particles in the air causing this, but a very large study now in the U.S., which has been following thousands of women for over 20 years, has found a link. Now, the U.S. is very good at monitoring air quality data. They have monitoring stations all over. So there's very, very good data on what people are breathing. And obviously, it varies geographically because it depends on how close you are to industry or, how close you live to high traffic areas, etc. But there were so many women involved in this study that the results are really quite significant. And what they found was that there was a direct association between particulate matter in the air, particularly particles that are smaller than 2.5 microns. That's very small. A micron is a millionth of a meter. So these particles are totally invisible. The air can look totally clean when you're breathing it. But these have been linked to breast cancer. Now, the question is, what is the biological link? Well, it turns out that a number of the compounds that are present in air pollution are endocrine disruptors. That is, they're chemicals that interfere with the way that hormones function in the body. And breast cancer is really a disease that is caused by hormonal dysfunction. I mean, we know that there are risk factors for breast cancer, in terms of the age at which you have first children, how many children you have, diet, but all of this revolves around the body's chemistry in terms of disrupting hormones. And now it turns out that the air can contain a number of these endocrine disrupting chemicals that are a byproduct of combustion. Now, of course, it's one thing to talk about this, but what does this mean for the average person? What can you do about it? Unfortunately, not much. It's not the kind of situation where, you're going to go around wearing a respiration mask, all the time.
Right.
So it has to be basically attended to at the site. Less pollution from industry is what we have to look at, and cars, which are less polluting, and diesel engines, which are less polluting. This is outside of, the average person's sphere of influence, except to put more pressure on governments to require industry to have better pollution control measures and to, monitor combustion processes. Also, trucks, which basically work on diesel engines, is a real problem, because diesel fuel is much more prone to producing this small particulate matter than gasoline engines. And our world really runs on trucks. Aaron, I drove to Toronto a couple of weeks ago, and just for fun, I counted the number of trucks, the large 18-wheelers that deliver basically, everything, coming the other way. So not the ones going in the same direction as me, but just coming against me.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think in that drive to Toronto, which takes about 5 hours? How many of these 18-wheelers do you think I counted?
I'm going to say 200.
3,000.
Close.
3,000.
Holy cow.
Yeah, holy cow is right. And of course, I would imagine the same number going in the other direction on my side of the road. So in that 5-hour period, talking about 6,000 diesel spewing vehicles. So obviously, there is a lot of particulate matter that is being spewed out there. But it's also, it's part of the way that we live, because we're a very consumer-oriented society. We want to buy all these stuff. Well, all of that has to be delivered,
But then again, Joe, we know that the trucking industry and governments as well are trying to eventually get to the point where we have those trucks be more efficient or be electric. Clearly, that's a long way down the road, but
absolutely. I mean,
begun.
make 18-wheelers electric is a very difficult challenge.
Okay. Look, let me move on and get to something else. I saw this story and did a bit of a kind of an eye roll, because I thought first this must be a joke of some kind. But there is a story today, and it's gathering a little bit of strength, suggesting that rice, something as simple as rice, you eat it a day later, and there are potential health problems from this. So what's this story about?
There are, and I mean, this has been circulating for a while, and the story usually is that you shouldn't reheat rice because it makes it toxic. It actually has nothing to do with the reheating. It has to do with how you store that rice in the first place. Rice, like many other grains, has bacteria called Bacillus cereus, and these bacteria form spores. Now, spores are a hardened form of bacteria that are basically dormant, but they can become active under the right conditions of moisture and heat. So rice naturally contains these. When you cook the rice, you destroy the active bacteria, but the spores are not destroyed by heat.
Oh.
And if you are cooling the rice down in such a way that it stays at room temperature for more than an hour or two, then those spores become active and they release their toxins. And those are heat stable. So that the next time, even if you heat up the rice, the toxins will still be in there and cause nausea and vomiting and diarrhea.
Holy.
So the message is that if you cook rice, and if you cook a large amount, which many people tend to do, as soon as you finish cooking it, you should divide it into smaller dishes and cool those down quickly, hopefully in less than an hour, and then put them into the fridge. And if you do that, there's no problem with reheating them the next day.
But what if you what if you just cook it and then immediately you take the portion you want and put the rest in the fridge? Is that not good enough?
Oh, yes, that's good.
Okay.
The trouble with that is if you cook a very large batch and you put the hot batch into the fridge, you can lower the temperature of the fridge and put other foods at risk there. Because you then can raise the temperature of the fridge above the 4 degrees. But if you cook the rice, and of course the best idea is you eat it right away. But if you're going to store it, don't keep it at room temperature for more than an hour or so, and then you put it into the fridge. And next day you can reheat it. There's no problem with it. But I wouldn't keep rice stored in the fridge more than 2 or 3 days.
Okay.
Because although the cold temperature will slow down the multiplication of bacteria, it doesn't totally stop it.
You learn stuff here every week. Dr. Joe Schwarz. Thank you, Dr. Joe.
Thanks, Aaron.